Welcome to another episode here at Lightingbot. It's been a while since we have done a live podcast in the sense that it's been with someone else. For a while, we've been doing portfolio reviews, and I've been busy making the course and updating stuff, so it's been a bit time limited. But today, we are going to learn a little bit about being a self-taught lighting artist. A lot of people might feel it's impossible. A lot of people might feel it's difficult, or where do you go? How do you approach it? So we're going to learn a little bit about the challenges that comes with it, and also we're going to talk a little bit about doing lighting outside of the game industry, and that there are other opportunities to get started. So, say if you're learning lighting and you're trying to get into the role as a lighting artist, often you may feel discouraged because you're not getting offers in the game industry, or you have a locked mindset saying, hey, I need to do this to get the job. So Vasil, we're going to talk to him because he's done a bit different strategy to get started. So we're going to learn a little bit about his strategy, and that it might be relevant for you guys as well. So Vasil,
Hey,
welcome.
thank you. Thank you for having me.
No problem. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Thank you.
Fine. All
Yeah.
right. So Vasil, obviously you are still, you've been doing stuff on your own for a bit, and you have an education. Obviously, you have a different story of getting starting and then throwing away your masters and then shifting stuff. So let's hear a little bit about the beginning of your journey when it comes to when you started something else studying, and what made you change your mind, and what did you do to get started.
Yeah. Well, I my master's. Let's first say it. My master's in. I have a master's in law. I basically studied for 7 years to become, an advocate, and I worked as a in my field for like 5 years, but I wasn't happy at all. I was feeling miserable. I was angry. I was nervous, and at some point, I just thought to myself, okay, something has to change because that was affecting my family life, my health, and I just started to try to figure out what I want to do. So at first, I tried video editing because I was like, okay, video editing has a bit of possibilities. Movies, commercials. I can find a job pretty easily, I might say, but I'm not sure. In this industry, how much job offers you can get. So I started doing video editing, but it wasn't. I didn't really feel it. I was doing it, but it wasn't giving me the joy I wanted. I was searching for. So I really can't say how the idea of trying 3D came to my head. But one day I just woke up and I was like, okay, let's try 3D. So I started searching because before that I didn't know anything about 3D and game dev besides playing the games. So I just searched for free software, and long and behold, Blender comes out. So I start tweaking with Blender for like a couple of months. After that, I saw that an academy here, a private academy, is having some courses with Maya that are towards beginners. So I went through two of them, and in these courses, we went through the basics of modeling, a bit of texturing, a bit of animation. I mean, everything you can expect from a 3D artist standpoint of view. And after these two courses, I just went for the environment stuff because it really kicked me how much I like it, because I did the animation stuff, I did the rigging, but it wasn't my stuff. I wasn't feeling it like I want to. So after that, I started practicing more 3D, practicing texturing, doing the props, a bit of environments, trying for job openings, because uh, we have a bit of we have a Ubisoft here, we have the Creative Assembly, we have Snapshot, and when I see job openings, I'm always applying. I don't care, for the experience they want or something. I apply, and if they give me the opportunity, I take it. take every opportunity you get. And I have to say that via the art tests they gave me through the years, I learned a lot of stuff, because for like 1 week you're so focused on one thing and you learn about it so much because you're so focused. And basically, I tried for some job openings. I didn't get them, as usually, because I don't have the art background, and I don't have the experience. My portfolio wasn't that good. And at some point, I just via some kind of luck, there was a post on Facebook that an indie studio is looking for a junior environment artist, and I messaged them. They gave me an art test. I did the test, and they hired me. And that was basically my first job. And I couldn't be happier. I have to say, after switching my careers, my I was just a different person. I was always happy. I was happier. I was smiling. I was joyful, and everything in life was looking pretty much better when I was doing the stuff I didn't want to, the job I didn't want to.
Okay.
But yeah.
So when you did all of this and you decided, okay, you're gonna take this opportunity and get to work, what would you say? How long did you spend trying to figure out what to do? How many you spent? A couple of months, a year? What's the time span? What was the challenge? The time you had to spend trying to
Yeah.
get into
Okay.
the.
I think that after a year and a half, maybe, I got the opportunity for this for the first job in the studio, and I was doing my practicing after work, before work, watching YouTube videos every time I have the opportunity, because that's a that's the good thing about today's world, that you can learn anything on the internet. I mean, if you want to, you can learn anything for free even. So yeah, every spare hour, every spare minute I had, I was just watching videos, practicing, modeling, texturing, or whatever. But at some point, I had to leave the indie studio due to some pandemics and stuff. So yeah, I was out of job, and I continued practicing. I didn't give up. I was still searching for jobs, but at one point I was like, okay, I just thought to myself, okay, to be an environment artist, there is a lot of things you have to know. Modeling, texturing, all the stuff that goes into being an environment artist. And I was like, I don't have the background to do this at the time, at the current moment. So let me think about something that I really enjoy besides in modeling and texturing, that goes into creating environments. So it just came out of nowhere. I'm like, okay, lighting sounds good. Lighting it looks interesting. Lighting can determine the mood and feel of a scene drastically. So I was like, okay, let's look into lighting. And that's when I started, again, watching videos, learning about Unreal's lighting functions. And I took a course, workshop, a 6-week workshop, where I learned the basics, and for how to think like a lighting artist, lighting design, color theory, a bit of tech, a little bit of tech stuff in Unreal, but not so much. And after that, it's basically, I'm thinking mostly about lighting. I'm doing my 3D modeling from time to time, just to freshen up. But basically, I'm learning more and more about the lighting in general. Be it theory or tech oriented.
So, if you could, would you rather spend a year learning on your own, watching YouTube videos, or would you rather save up money and keep learning for other people though? Because you're spending a lot of time learning on your own, which obviously takes time because you have to first filter out the people, then you would have to look at the video and implement the videos. What works best for you when you're trying to learn?
For me, it's a mix of both worlds because at some point I hit a brick wall when I start learning by myself because I'm not sure how to continue after I hit the plateau, and there come the courses, which the mentors are in general, really good lighting artists, and you can ask them anything and they can answer it with really good explanations that make you, just click. Just, oh, okay, that's why you do this and that's why you do that. And I think it's good to get some courses, but it's not mandatory. It's just how a person feels it, because yeah, I can learn from videos by myself, but at some point I really need that someone to just push me forward a bit.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you're saying you picked like decided to become a lighting artist, in your head when you decided, besides the fact that you were enjoying it, did you ever think it would be easier than being a 3D artist or texture artist, or would you, was it because you thought it was more fun to do?
I didn't think it in the direction that it was easier. I just thought it in at the time when I was, jobless. I just thought, let's think about something to specialize in, because I saw that many people are just, material artists or modelers and stuff, and I was just biting too much, more than I can chew with becoming an environment artist, because you need all of the components that I mentioned to be a good environment artist. So I just wanted to specialize in something, and that's why I decided for the lighting, because at the point I was thinking in terms also of possible job openings. I saw that lighting artists are a bit are searched for, not like, modelers and material artists and stuff, but there is possibilities for landing a job as a lighting artist. That was one of my thoughts as well, but my main goal was to just specialize in something, because when you focus on one thing, you become really good at it. And if you spread your thoughts, like multiple directions, you just become distracted. That's just me. I mean, many people, some people can do it all, just, learn all the stuff at the same time. But for me personally, learning one thing at a time works best.
Okay. So eventually you obviously started working on a non-gaming company. Let's talk a little bit about your experience and time working on completely different projects than what people probably think exists. A lot of people are, as I said in the intro, a lot of people when they get started and they want to do lighting, they're very fixed on either like big companies or specific games, specific projects, and they lose a lot of opportunities to get started quicker because they ignore the indie companies, they ignore um, companies that isn't even gaming related that needs lighting artists. So talk a little bit about what you have been doing so far.
Yeah. Well, I just want to touch on what you said. If someone is looking for a job, don't be constricting yourself with, like, the big titles, the big studios. If you see a job opening, just try it, take it, because you will learn different aspects of lighting. If you do something for, like, let's say commercials or movies, then you can implement it in games when you land that job. For my time here at the moment in the studio that I work at, it's called ZenArt VR. We are doing VR experiences that you can just say that they are like virtual tourism. You can just figure it out like that, because I don't really have any other analogy. Basically, the 3D team goes to a geographical destination. Our last two destinations were Machu Picchu in Peru, and the in Egypt, the pyramids and some of the tombs. Basically, they go there, they scan the environment. They when they come back, they model the model. I mean, they generate the models, they fix them, they make a level, and after that we have a script that we have to follow. The camera movement is scripted, everything is scripted. So the enjoyment comes from you put the goggles, the VR goggles, and just experience something really cool for like 9 to 10 minutes. Depending on the script, you can fly, you can walk. There will be some characters to guide you. There are characters that talk about it all the time because they explain what you're seeing and stuff. And it's really cool, actually. I think it's a different experience, and it's really something everyone should try at least once.
So, what's the difference when you do this stuff at work versus, say, when you do your own pieces for fun afterwards? What are the different challenges and things you have to keep in mind when you're working on these things?
Mainly the performance. When I'm working on a portfolio piece, I'm really not thinking about performance. I spend I always try to use as little lights as possible. Just as a general practice. But when I'm doing the for portfolio, I'm not thinking about performance. That would be the main difference, because for work, especially for VR, there are a lot of constrictions in terms of lighting, and I have to do as much as possible with less as possible. So that would be the main difference.
Okay, so what are some of the key things you would say is harder doing stuff for VR? What are the key things a lighting artist should pay attention to when lighting for VR? What's the more technical aspects compared to, say, just doing a regular game? For example, there's the frame rate. I'm guessing is one key things with VR. But are there any other things you can think about, or you think it has to change your way of lighting and the way you work with the light because of the projects you have and the VR?
Well, the main difference is hardware orientated. Like you said, the frame rate would be a key aspect. So the main difficulty comes from the support you get from the engine, because there is a table in the Unreal documents where they explain how much, let's say, dynamic lighting you can use, how much stationary lighting you can use, and you have to be in these constrictions that the engine just provides you. You can't just go over them because you're going to explode the performance and everything breaks. So that would be the
So
main difference, yeah.
So does that mean you have less shadow casting lights than
Yes.
normal, and you have to be a bit more creative in placing the key lights to have the shadows, and then you have a lot of lights. If you do have more lights, they don't cast shadow. Is that the principles that you go by?
Yeah, well, yeah, the shadows for VR are one of the most expensive aspects. So since everything is scripted, the user doesn't have any gameplay elements. They can't choose where to go or what to see. In the last two projects, we animated like more or less the shadows. So they're not rendering all the time, and when the camera is facing one way, the shadows on the other way are disabled. So that way we have better performance. And with the sun being I think, yeah, on the both of the projects, the sun was our key light. So we played with the shadow distance, and we animated that and everything, so that you have enough shadows to be interesting when you're in that particular space of the experience. But it's not costing a lot of the performance.
Okay. So when you say animating and all of these shadows and stuff, is that mostly shadow distance, or is there any other things that you guys had to do to kind of because without shadows there's no depth, there's no
Yeah.
form, so obviously you need it. So what was the approach to doing that? Was it mostly animating the shadow distance, or was there any other tricks up your sleeve?
Well, no, mainly the shadow distance and the cascade numbers, because they also, they up the performance. And just disabling lights. Let's say you land on one spot, there is a talk, there is a like 30 seconds you have to be there for the character to talk you, to say something, you to explain something. And when you leave that space, these lights are disabled at the, uh, at the moment you don't see them, they are disabled. So to, boost the performance, yeah, every frame rate is precious. Yeah, and
So
since everything is scanned, you have millions of polygons.
right.
And at in Unreal Engine 4 that was a bit of problem, but now with Nanite it's a bit, less painful, let's say.
So why do you think it's less painful? If for people who don't know, is there a reason why it's less painful?
Well, yeah, because Nanite, due to its how it's coded, it helps a lot with the close shots, I mean distance shots. I mean it still needs, some performance to work, but if you manage it correctly, you don't have to think about optimizing that much the models, or just faking some of the models and stuff like we had to, just to have the better performance.
Okay. And how old are you now? I forgot to ask.
I'm 33.
33.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are concerned about, changing careers, to getting started late, thinking, oh no, it's too late and everything. So when you landed your job and you switched over, you obviously have family too, if I remember right.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
have a small child and a wife. Yeah.
so how is that balancing this process of deciding to change career, which obviously affects the family income in one way or another, when you're studying or you're switching a lot and you're looking for jobs and you're doing work? How has that been in dealing with, being a bit older, changing everything you've started out doing and then just throwing out the window saying, no, I'm going to change it, I'm going to go this way? How's that been for you in terms of balancing, a new career, the responsibilities? Because, we don't talk a lot about it, but it's interesting to cover that part as well, because a lot of people struggle with balance, especially because it's very competitive, even though people don't want to admit it. It is very competitive to stay on top, to stay up to date, to keep updating stuff, get notice, then going to a new project. How has that been for you so far?
Well, at the beginning it was tough because when I decided to switch careers, our son was just born, and every time, as I told you, every spare minute I had, I was practicing because I really wanted to switch my careers fast. Because the current job I had, it was affecting my family life. As I told you, I was really nervous, angry all the time. And here I have to be thankful for my wife being such an awesome person, because she put up with me and she was dealing with the baby while I was, practicing 3D in the other room or something like that. But I think that uh, because I was a bit mature, I think I switched my job at like 30 years old. Because I was a bit mature, I was really focused on that. I wasn't distracted by any other aspects of life. Let's say when I, if I, maybe if I was like 20 years older, I mean 20 years old, uh, I wouldn't be that focused, because I would say, hey, I have time. I don't have to really worry about it. I will learn. I will study when I have the time, when I feel like it. But when you're a bit older, you don't have that luxury to wait. So you have to really grind it, to be focused, to be determined to just change your life and change your career for the best. And now balancing, it may sound really weird, but I learned to get up at like 5 a.m. to just have a bit of couple of hours to practice before going to work. Because I really want, when I get home, after 8 hours of working, I really want to spend time with my family. So let's say you just have to make time. You just have to make your own time to have a really balanced life. And since everyone has 24 hours in a day, you just have to just figure it out, And for me, waking up early really works.
24 hours. I have 48 hours.
Yeah, I wish.
So obviously you have this balancing and you're doing stuff. Because I started my first, because there was no work when I started actually, because I lived in Norway originally.
Okay.
So I had to make my own company at a 23-year-old. I had my own company, and I gave my friends an opportunity to work with me, and we started that way. And then I also switched to teaching a bit full time, and then I also built a game organization during that time. So formally, I didn't actually become like I didn't commit to being a lighting artist until probably when I was 30. I don't know, 30, past 33, 34, probably is when I committed to it. Even though I started learning lighting when in 2012 is when I started learning lighting because I got the photography equipment and then I started taking a bit photos. I was like, shit, this is amazing. My eyes is seeing the world differently. And I was like, there's something there. And then I started switching over for the same reason as you that I noticed there was a lot of opportunities for lighting artists. And I was like, okay, I getting tired doing the same stuff now. I want to move and stuff like that. So I spent a lot of time learning other stuff before I started learning the technical part. So for me, I learned photography and then a little bit, and then I learned a lot about like now I'm learning a little bit about painting. So I paint a little bit. So what are some of your experiences about tips for someone when they are learning lighting for VR games or cinematics? What have you done so far to learn, and what would you like to pass on to other people as advice and tips?
Yeah, well, one general mistake I did when I started learning all of the aspects, just not just lighting, but 3D in general, is I focused really hard on technicality. And I, let's say I progressed to some point, but when the time came to just, make an environment or create something beautiful, that's where the fundamentals I didn't have were starting to show up. So my first advice would be, don't go so hard on technicality. I mean, it's fun. Yeah, I know everyone likes tech and stuff, but to learn your fundamentals, because without them, you're going to get so far without the fundamentals. That's why they are called fundamentals. And I'm still learning them because I have only touched the surface. But I can only recommend, if someone learns better from mentors or books or videos or whatever, just learn your fundamentals. Currently, I'm like you. I'm learning to draw because I can draw. I mean, anything besides cubes and cylinders or stuff. So I'm learning to draw because drawing and painting and everything related to it really helps learn about how light behaves. So, and drawing, you can learn composition and any other aspect you need. Study photography, of course, like you started. Photography is generally you're a lighting artist just with a camera in your hand. So I can that's my standpoint of view for being a photographer. You have your composition and you have your lighting. So study photography. That would be another aspect I'm going to learn in the future. I have it in my mind to learn a bit of photography. Another tip I would just give is just observe life. When you're walking down the street, you see something cool, you just stop, look at it, and try to analyze it. I can give an example. A couple of weeks ago, we were outside of the city. We're in a village nearby where I live, and it was early morning, around 8 a.m. I think 9 a.m. It was really sunny, and we were having breakfast in the garden, and my son was sitting across me, and we had this umbrella to shade us, to give us some shade because it was already really hot, and that's when he was looking at me, and I was like, okay, you see the bounce light of the table, you see the key light from the sun, and I'm just looking at him, analyzing him. It was a bit weird because I was just staring at him, but that's how you learn. For me, especially, just observe what you see. If you see something cool, just observe it. Another thing I'm doing currently is I'm reading books. I prefer reading books because when I have the book in my hands, I have the determination to read it. Because if it's let's say a PDF file or online, I get distracted a bit, because you're on your PC. I can recommend a book. I will show it right now. I can recommend this book. It's called Light for Visual Artists. You can get it on Amazon. It's I think it's about 30 euros, and in the first couple of chapters, it covers a bit of theoretical stuff. How what is light. About light wavelengths and stuff, color length, the waves color and stuff. But the next couple of chapters, the author really goes deep in just explaining light in different conditions. uh, I really I learned a lot about light and light behavior via the book, so I can only recommend it. And the another book I'm reading currently is this one for color theory. I'm at the beginning, but it's really interesting. It's really good, well written. And color theory is another key aspect you have to learn to be a good lighting artist. So
What
I can
what is
only
what was the name of the color book?
it's just called Color
Oh
by
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I have
You
this
can
one
get
as
it on
well.
Amazon as well. Yeah, you can get it on Amazon as well. And because you need the color theory really, to be on a good level to just do a good to do a good lighting scene, let's say scenario.
So
And
so far, please continue.
yeah, I'm sorry. And the last tips is it's not more like a tip, but just general advice is just learn from the best. As look up to some artists. It doesn't being that lighting or environment artists or whatever. Just look at their work, study it, and just try to take as much as you can from their work, because they have more experience than you, and you can only learn more from them. Just steal the knowledge, as it is said.
Steal it and use it yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everyone learns for someone. Even when I teach and do my mentorship, it's not like I was born with the knowledge. I am constantly learning from people and then repurposing it in a way that I understand it, and then hoping someone else understand this because they didn't understand it the first time they learned from someone else, right? So you have to find the person that makes sense to you. So even when I learn from people who are like supposedly they are very amazing, but they're not always able to express or explain the concepts because they're so good. They're good at stuff they do, but passing it on pedagogically and teaching is a very different skill set. So finding right people who are able to do that is also a bit time consuming sometimes. So definitely it's worth exploring for sure. So if you could change something in your journey so far that you wish you did differently, what would you do differently?
I would have started with learning the fundamentals. Yeah, that would be the major error I did when I started. I just dove straight into technical stuff, learning Blender, learning Unreal or whatever, and didn't have any fundamentals. I mean, any. So that would be my major issue I had.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, what are the fundamentals that you are talking about?
Well,
Color.
when you no, when you start drawing, you learn shape language, silhouette, perspective, composition, and you can uh, you can achieve so much with only these fundamental principles. But color comes a bit later, I think, for me, because how can you, let's say, how can you mix color if you can't draw it what you want to, represent. So basically, that would be the fundamentals for me. If you start a drawing course, you start with drawing cubes just to learn, just to adapt your eyes to see in 3D. Then you start perspective, form manipulation when you draw, and silhouette and form, and that's it. That would be the fundamental aspects you need to be, to just start and become a good artist.
So, do you want to show your? Should we share the screen and kind of go through your lighting challenge that you submitted a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, sure.
So you submitted something for the real challenge, along with probably 200-300 other people as well.
Yeah.
So you purposely picked lumens as your source of light. So does that mean you only use lumen in this challenge?
Yeah, I only use Lumen, nothing else.
So let's have a quick look. You can click on play on the video if you want to. There's probably
Okay.
the sound probably won't come, but that's fine. Okay. So what did you learn when you did this challenge using lumens? Because there are obviously limitations when you use lumens.
Yeah. Well, I
Or let's say, what's the difference between using lumens versus the other approaches? What are the pros and cons for people to be aware of?
yeah. Well, the major prong for using Lumen was you see everything real time you're doing, so you don't have to bake, you don't have to wait, you don't have to tweak a setting, bake again just to see the result. That would be a major pro for Lumen. Uh, if you don't have the hardware, that's a big issue, because you can't use Lumen. I had to change the graphics card I had. I was using 1080 Ti, I think, and Lumen didn't even show. So when I put the 3080, it was like day and night, difference. I'm like, oh man, you know. So that would be a, a limitation if you don't have the hardware to support it. You won't be able to use it. Another, I'm not sure what I can say more about Luminous pros and cons at this point, because I haven't used it that much. That was my first scene using it, and since it was a portfolio piece, I didn't really bother about performance.
So when you did lumens, uh, did you notice that? What did you notice was easier with lumens, but also what did you notice that was a disadvantage from an artistic point of view?
Well,
Did you notice anything?
from artistic point of view, I saw that the ambient occlusion wasn't that good, if I have to say, because when I searched about it on the internet, Lumen at this point, I think it doesn't support ambient occlusion or something like that, because I was trying to have some occlusion, here and there. In this render, you can see that the floor here doesn't really have that much. It's not looking bad, because I changed the floor a bit just to make it a bit wavy, not to be like a stamp card. But as you can see here, you don't have that much of an ambient occlusion, so that's a drawback I saw when using Lumen. And the reflections are okay. I mean, I had some issues with them when I tried to place my water puddles. I made a decal for water puddles, for the reflections, and I had some issues with it. So, but I
Makes
think
sense.
it was, yeah, I think it was the issue was at my end, because I wasn't using it properly. Not that Lumen is not working or anything.
But it's risky though to pick Lumen first time for a challenge. So because you're learning and then you're also trying to challenge and win a challenge, I suppose. So what made you decide? Okay, I'm gonna go for Lumens, the least technical part that I am aware of, versus using something you probably would have done differently and faster if you pick something you were aware of. Is there a reason you decided to go for Lumens in the middle of a challenge?
Well, yeah, because it is a challenge, and I was like, okay, let's challenge myself and let's try something I haven't done before. So that's why I wanted to use Lumen, and because I haven't used it anywhere else, and that's why I wanted to try it out, just to
Okay.
learn. Yeah.
And when you're doing all of this, and do you ever use DaVinci Resolve at the end of your project or during your project when you do any of these lighting?
I have been using it for some time, but not for my for the portfolio pieces I'm posting on ArtStation. I'm using it for something else. I saw William Faucher's, I think it's his name pronounced, his video on YouTube for using DaVinci Resolve to better up your quality of Unreal Engine's renders. But I haven't tried it. I haven't tried it so far. But for the next project, I think I will.
Good.
Yeah.
So far you have done. You had an education. What was the education you jumped out of?
I graduated masters in studying law.
Right.
I have no art background.
So when we say having to learn on your own, you've been learning literally from your own, and obviously you have been trying to different schools and stuff, and mentorship as well. What are your next steps to learn more, and what are your next goals, obviously as well? Because I'm sure eventually you want to try different projects, going different places eventually. So what are you doing to keep up with all of this?
Well, basically, it's daily practice, daily reading, studying about lighting. I decided to focus entirely on lighting. I mean, I'm not diversing myself with modeling and texturing and other aspects of environment lighting, of environment creation, because I really want to get good at becoming a lighting artist. And that would be one aspect of my learning, and the other is, as I said before, I'm practicing drawing. I'm studying drawing to learn to draw. uh,
How are you doing that? Are you learning on your own? Are you paying for courses, videos, YouTube?
Currently I'm doing it on my own. There are a couple of great websites you can learn from. The one I'm using is this one. It's called controlpaint.com. It has
Correct.
a
That's
yeah
where
it
I also bought some of mine.
yeah. These courses are free. I mean, everything here is free, so you don't need to pay for something at the beginning. And
I paid for one on the store actually. After I went through this, I was like, I'm just gonna pay for the ones in the store. But yeah, I haven't gone through the free stuff. I quickly just bought the stuff he had on the store because it's not that expensive. At least when I bought it, it was, I don't know, $5-10 or something.
yeah, well, I wanted to try them first, just to see how the videos are, and if they weren't that good, I was going to buy something, of course. But since the videos are really well structured, they are short, they are straight to the point. I really like them, so I follow these videos for now. And I bought a pen tablet, a display tablet, and just to it, let's say, just to force myself to draw every day, because when I was doing it on pen and paper, I was like, today I'm not feeling it, I don't want to draw and stuff. It's not on PC and whatever. So I was like, okay, I will spend some of my hard-earned money and buy a display tablet just to force myself to draw.
So
And
which display tablet?
I bought the XP Pen 16-inch Pro. They had well, I bought it really cheap. They had a sale a couple of months back. So yeah, It's a inexpensive tablet, but for a beginner, I think I don't need the Wacom Cintiq, stuff that it's really expensive. And one funny aspect of all of my learning to draw experience is that my wife is actually an art teacher, so she's my mentor. Yeah, when I draw something and I go to her and I'm like, okay, tell me everything I'm doing wrong, and she's like, okay, you overstretch this, you bend this more, and whatever. So yeah, I have
That's
this.
nice.
Yeah, I have this privilege of her being my mentor.
That's
Yeah.
good. Well, she understands the pain you're going through when you're learning. She's like, I went through the same stuff.
Yeah, yeah. One day she told me exactly this. She was like, "Do you think I wanted to draw every day? I didn't want to draw every day, but I drew anyway." So yeah,
But that's true, though. That's definitely something I think it's important to actually talk about that as well. Since you mentioned it, is just the mindset and attitude of learning, right? To do something consistently every day is how people often achieve something. You don't have to be the best, is what I believe, but I think you need to have some structure and you need to be consistent. So you have to wake up and do it, even if you're feeling a bit sad or tired. If you can just get started, normally the brain will rewire and you will then be able to feel good about it. So I think that's definitely a good habit, just to wake up. I didn't buy a display tablet, but I did buy like just a tablet, so I can like take it with me and sketch on on the tablet itself.
yeah.
So that also I did the same thing. Painting is a bit harder when I paint, because you need all the paints. You need to put it somewhere, and then you have to make sure you don't get paint on your clothes. So the way I do it, I just pay for a studio. I go there for 5 hours. They provide me with everything, and I just paint there basically. Because I don't
Sounds
want to
good.
do
Yeah,
it at home. Yeah, because I don't want to do it at home, because then you have to clean. And
yeah,
I do have paint and stuff at home, but I tried it and I was like, that's too much work. I'm just gonna pay money and go to a studio and just have everything provided and then leave afterwards. So it's
yeah.
it's a lot easier this way. But it's definitely good journey, I think, and good choices ahead. Um, so basically, you're saying learn the fundamentals. Don't skip the fundamentals, even if you get distracted with technical stuff and technical tutorials. Make sure you learn the fundamentals. Fundamentals can be anything from understanding shape, form, light, color, perspective, because all of this will help your lighting as well. Um, Correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So my biggest challenge is, when I do my lighting as well, is really to keep up to date with learning and producing, because it's sometimes you want to learn something new and it takes time. And I personally don't post stuff on ArtStation anymore if I'm just learning. And maybe I'll go to the blog part on ArtStation. So when people go on the blog part of my ArtStation, you'll see experiments. Uh, what is your approach? Would you always post something you're doing the minute you finish, or do you sometimes do stuff in private and you never post it, you never share it for whatever reason?
Well, I most of the stuff I do, I don't post because they are. Uh, I try to do some quick practices, and I not to be a finished product. Just let's say I want to recreate a certain lighting scenario, and I just go pick some boxes, put up some, let's say, mega scans material, just to have some information, normal albedo and stuff, and just play a bit with it for a couple of hours, and that's it. When I want to, put up a portfolio piece, that I will do it for like a couple of weeks, a month. It doesn't matter how much it takes, but it has to be, really uh, the quality I want it to be. So not everything is posted, because practice pieces don't really have place on ArtStation if you're seeking for a job. So yeah,
So what's your advice? How long would you how long do you spend if you were to do something such as this challenge and post it online? What's your average time you spend for that?
I think for because I entered the challenge a bit late. I think I entered a week after it started, or maybe even 10 days. It took me about 20 days for this challenge. But if I have to be honest, the main difficulties were just composing the scene, finding the pieces, finding the props, finding the correct materials, tweaking them, just making them, consistent with one another. And the lighting took me about 2 days, I think, because it's not a complex lighting scenario. The main challenge I had was just creating the scene, because everything is created. I mean, the room, the layout of it is by me. It's not a complex room or anything, but yeah, I spend a lot of hours just placing props here and there, moving them. Okay, it's not working here. I don't have a good lighting reaction. The composition is not working, so just tweak it and stuff.
So if you could do it again, would you maybe not spend a lot of time setting up the scene for the lighting challenge? Would you have maybe simplified the props and environment and do more experiments with the lighting?
Uh, well, if I have to be honest, I'm quite happy with the end result. I know some things I want to change. Every time there is something, after you post it, you're like, oh, okay, man, I could have done this differently and stuff. But I just wanted to convey some a general mood, the sense of fear, the sense of the unknown, and I think with a simpler lighting, like I did with a bit of dark spots and everything, it did the job. Uh, for me, lighting doesn't have to be complex to be good looking and to be doing its purpose. So I think I won't change that much in this scene. No.
Because I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people spent more time preparing the scene than actually lighting the scene because a lot of challenge submission I've seen this very customized look and environment and props and everything, such as yourself. So it's funny it's called a lighting challenge, but I would I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised if people spend more time doing something other than lighting just to prepare for the lighting. Uh, but that's true though. I mean, in this day and age, at least on a higher level of lighting, you need to make some effort of populating your scene with a story, emotion and mood, and not just use the default environment. This is one of the reasons I don't post as much anymore because I don't want to spend too much time doing it. Uh, so I don't want to spend time making my custom environment and then doing the lighting. But I do think it's useful to do it. I think in the beginning when you're learning, probably not that important because you need to show
Yeah.
your fundamental understanding of lighting. But eventually, when you're a bit more professional and you post your stuff on ArtStation, you probably want to spend time customizing things and yeah, making some tweaks at the very least to show your understanding. That totally makes sense.
Yeah, well,
Um,
I think that this was a good practice for me in general with creating the room and layout from scratch, because I haven't worked in a big studio. I don't know the pipelines and workflows, but I guess if you have some knowledge of just set dressing or composition and stuff, when you start working on a certain level, let's say, and a set dresser just do its part, places some props, just make the layout of the level, and you start lighting it. You can, I think that this experience can help you just figure out if something is not working. So that is why I don't think I would have spent less time, just creating this and doing lighting for more hours, because that was a good experience for me. And the I had to create the camera movement. I had watched so many videos on horror movie directing that you just you can't imagine. And yeah, that was another part of
the
learning.
research.
Yeah. It was really fun. I learned about how to create suspense, camera movement, camera angles, focal length and stuff, and it was a quite enjoyable one, I have to say.
I can't stand horror games or horror movies. I avoid them at all cost. So before we end, you had some artists that you follow and like and recommend.
Yeah, I can. If you want, I can type them here on my
Yeah,
screen. Yeah. Well, one of them is she was here at your podcast some
it's one
couple
of
of.
your previous mentors, right?
Yeah, I did. I had a workshop. She was my mentor. She's an awesome person. She knows so much about lighting, stage lighting, photography. I mean, you talked about it on your podcasts previously, so I don't have to,
Yeah.
put the words in her mouth, as I said.
Yeah, so you guys
Uh,
can look up her in our YouTube if you want to watch her interview
yeah,
as well.
another one would be Kemal. I'm not sure how you pronounce his name. The last one, Gunel, I think. He has some really good videos, short videos about technicality in Unreal, and they're quite straight to the point. And I think his information is really useful for a beginner because he shows some basic shaders and stuff. He can help you learn at the beginning. Another one would be I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce his name. Til yeah, Tillman. He's really well known in the lighting universe. Let's say his lighting academy videos are I binged watch them like a couple of times already. I mean, there
You
is
do have
so
to
much.
watch them. You do have to watch them a couple of times as well.
Yeah, there is so much information there you can learn. I mean, it's really awesome. And William, everyone knows William at this point. I think William Faucher, I think his name pronounced. His videos are as well really, really awesome, really well structured, and he gives some really, really good tips about technicality, sometimes about general theory and stuff. So I can only recommend him as well. And another artist I really look up to is Tim from Polygon Academy. He's not lighting artist I mean, specializing in art in lighting. I think he's an art director now, if I'm not mistaken. But since he's a self-taught artist as well, I really look up to him for just an inspiration. And his breakdowns of, I think the last one I looked was like for Dead Space remake. His breakdown is just, you can learn so much from a like 20-minute video. So I can only recommend him as well.
Yeah, hopefully he will be on end of the year. I think on the stream.
That would be really, really awesome.
A lot of these people are very busy to come on, so a lot of nagging is involved.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Yeah.
I mean, I got Tillman and Maria on, so it's just William Foster and Tim that I also have to get on to speak a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, if that was useful, I'm gonna show a video about our course. If that was useful, you should head over to courses.lightingbot.com and consider some of the courses and mentorship. You'll be able to learn all of these things: fundamental of lighting, incorrect materials, exposure, EV, how to use volumetrics, how to deal with light bidding, how to do post-process grading, emissive, how to do fill light and extra lighting, different times of day, how you do it differently for each day using EV, how to go away from the EV and technical lighting to do artistic lighting, understanding curves, analyzing painting, how it affects your art and lighting, how to train your eye and how to learn from painting, candle principle, Purkinje effect, game optimization, the danger of fog that a lot of people don't understand, and lots more. Again, we have had people go through the course and get work. We have some testimonial you can check. Little bit about myself, my co-author Sander, who has been going through the content and improving the content as well. He's a technical lighting artist, so more technical than myself. And you can check all the content that's being added on a regular basis, fundamental stuff, advanced stuff, technical stuff, and we're still adding new content because when students join, they have an ability to ask for some learning. Basically, you can also upgrade to monthly mentorship. You get some extra stuff for discount price, and you have me and other mentors. If you upgrade to 5 months, you can have an opportunity to get some career roadmaps or different offers. If you want a very specific offer, just talk to me and I'll schedule something specific for you as well. Okay, a great opportunity to learn. Cool. So a lot of options, a lot of choices, a lot of resources. So there's no excuse not to learn. There's no
Yeah,
excuse not to improve.
yeah.
There's enough help there, both free, professional. You have CGMA, you have Vertex School, you have, I don't know, there's quite a few really out there at this stage, but it's really finding the right place for you. So Vasil, thank you so much for your time. We are already past our 1 hour mark, so I want to thank you for your time and attention during this morning. And do you have anything you would like to add, say, or ask?
Well, just one thing that if you're not like me, if you're having a job and you're not happy with it, just try to think of something you will be, just joyful doing, and just go for it. Don't dive straight deep. Don't hesitate. Just go for it.
Cool.
Yeah.
And thank you for tuning in, early gamer. This time you're late gamer because we're about to end our session. Well, you can always watch the video because it's recorded and everything. Yeah, Vasil, stay in touch, and yeah, I'm gonna end the stream. I'm gonna talk to Vasil a little bit in private afterwards. So for everyone else, thank you for watching and have a nice weekend. We'll see you around.